I was about 12 years old when I first entered the realm of RPGs. I started with mainstream titles such as Final Fantasy VIII and Suikoden 2 and instantly fell in love with the genre. Since then, I haven't looked back. Valkyrie Profile was released for the PlayStation 1 in North America in the year 2000, and I would say it was about the 10th RPG that I played. It was not what I expected. Back then, developers Tri-Ace gave us something completely different to the traditional JRPG, and little old me didn't really understand what the hell I was doing. Fast forward 20 years and I remembered close to nothing about it, so this playthrough of the recent PS5 port was more or less a new experience for me. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth has always had a strong cult following, and while it doesn't blow my mind like it does many others out there, I still had a lot of fun with it. Before we get into the review, if you liked this video, it would help me out a lot to hit like and sub for more RPG content coming soon. Also, what do you think about Valkyrie Profile? When did you first play the game? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, let's get into it.
To my side, my noble Einherjar.
So the recent release of Valkyrie Profile Lenneth is a port of the PSP version released in 2006, which is a port of the PS1 version released in the year 2000. So basically, it's pretty much the same experience as you may have played on the PlayStation 23 years ago. Even though the visuals haven't had any work, I think they still look great. The 2D style characters and environments are detailed and complement the somber storyline perfectly. The music is also outstanding, as you would expect from Motoi Sakuraba, who has been doing it right for nearly as long as I've been breathing. And while this latest version of Valkyrie Profile is only a port, it does at least come with a couple of quality of life features. For one, you are able to save anywhere, which is incredibly useful when working through some of the later dungeons. There's also a rewind feature allowing you to jump backwards whenever you screw something up, which kind of felt like a cheat code. The purist in me saw feelings of guilt every time I used it, and there was a lot of guilt because I used it religiously. When it comes to Valkyrie Profile's story and narrative structure, it is definitely unique, and to say this over 20 years after its release, that's gotta count for something. You play the role of Lenneth, a warrior maiden in the service of Odin. Lenneth's job is to recruit the spirits of fallen warriors from Midgard to fight in a war so the destruction of Asgard is prevented. Yep, you guessed it. This game is based on Norse mythology. From the gods to the 9 worlds to preventing Ragnarok, it's all here, and if you're into this sort of thing, Valkyrie Profile will deliver. And look, this game even stars Chris Hemsworth as Thor, years before the first Thor movie was released.
I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
This unique narrative is split into chapters, and you'll have a limited amount of cities and dungeons that you can explore in each one. However, this time limit never causes you to miss out on much. In fact, at the end of every chapter, I had more time than I knew what to do with. The purpose of this time or action limit is simply to reinforce the urgency and progression of the war. During each chapter, you can roam around the world, free to explore any location you wish. However, by performing a spiritual concentration, Valkyrie is able to identify new dungeons and, more importantly, the towns where fallen warriors can be recruited. Here, a mini-narrative will take place, presenting the events that lead up to the end of the warrior's life. This is when Valkyrie appears to recruit the warrior's spirit to fight in the war. I enjoyed many of these short stories, but I did find it strange that a couple of them seem to be missing the recruitment interaction with Valkyrie at the end. Once you've recruited all of the available characters in the chapter and explored the dungeons, it's time to move on to the next chapter. Unfortunately, there's really no point in exploring anywhere else unless you want a few pieces of NPC dialogue in each town. Now, the overall story pacing is incredibly slow. In fact, very little happens during the first half of the game. You simply recruit a couple of characters, then work through a dungeon that has absolutely nothing to do with the plot. It really feels like things are going nowhere. Until they do, around the halfway point of the game when the scenes start hinting that there's something bigger at play. Unfortunately, simply playing through the game casually will only reveal a basic generic storyline. To understand what's really going on and to experience the best of what Valkyrie Profile offers, you will need to work towards ending A, the good ending, the real ending, the ending with the story. Getting this though is impossible without following a guide, and I really hated this. I followed a guide very closely and I still nearly managed to screw up the requirements. Firstly, you have to understand systems and stats that aren't explained. You have to visit specific locations at the right time, not too early, not too late. And you have to recruit and send up certain characters to fight in the war. This really gets to me, as the ending A experience is so much better than ending B, so if you're playing Valkyrie Profile for the first time, do yourself a favor and use a guide from the very start. And to you people out there saying you shouldn't need a guide, well done. Yeah, I'm sure ending A is easy to get if you've been playing the game for over 20 years and read every guide on the internet. Congratulations champ, you're a rock star. Valkyrie Profile is not an easy game to play. There are many systems in place, many of which work very well but are poorly explained or not explained at all. One of the core systems is sending up party members called Andriod to fight in the war. At any time during a chapter, you can choose to transfer heroes to fight in the war, which means they'll no longer be playable as party members. At the end of each chapter, you can also check up on the performance of these Andriod and view some short scenes, which was a pretty good idea. Selecting heroes that satisfy Freya's requests will improve Valkyrie's evaluation level, and this results in better rewards at the end of each chapter. Fulfilling most of these requirements can be achieved by simply spamming your capacity points into their traits, and very little thought is needed here. Things get a little more grindy on the hard difficulty though, as all party members will start at level 1 with no CP. In fact, each of the 3 difficulty levels plays slightly differently with their own unique dungeons, characters and available items. I really liked this. I wish more RPGs provided additional incentives for playing on harder difficulties. Also, in true Tri-A style, there is a challenging lengthy post-game dungeon where you can really test your skills. When not flying around the world and recruiting characters, you'll be working your way through the chapter's dungeons, and for the most part, this was a lot of fun. Here, the game turns into a 2D platformer with each dungeon having a boss fight at the end. Valkyrie can run, jump, slide, and attack enemies to get the first attack in battle. Some of the controls took me a while to adjust to, specifically the limited movement while jumping vertically. Something as simple as opening treasure chests can be a bit fiddly too. Unless you're in the right spot and crouching, Valkyrie will pick up the chest instead and throw it, possibly destroying its contents. I found no possible use of picking up a chest through the entire game, so I'm really not too sure about this design choice. Valkyrie can also use her magic crystals to perform a variety of techniques required to solve puzzles and access secret areas. Some of these puzzles and crystal techniques can get a bit difficult towards the end of the game, and I spend quite a bit of time running back and forth clueless as how to proceed. The same can be said about the dungeon complexity. They start simple but eventually get so complicated that navigating through them was a challenge, even with a map.
Divine Assault, Nibelang Valesti!
Yep, Valkyrie Profile loves being unique, and the combat is no different. This turn-based system allows you to take Valkyrie plus 3 other warriors into battle at a time. Each character's attacks are mapped to one of the controller's face buttons, and dealing decent damage is all about comboing these attacks together. When that bottom left gauge hits 100, you'll be able to unleash a character's special move, and these are the real damage dealers. Unfortunately, these animations can be quite long and there's no way to skip them. Now, unleashing combos isn't as easy as it sounds, as your enemies will usually guard incoming attacks. To break a guard, you'll need to coordinate the timing of your attacks, as each character's attack animations are different and can attack up to 3 times with different hit numbers and hit heights. It is a really good feeling when all of your character's attacks hit, but it did get annoying when enemies constantly blocked every single attack. There are many complexities to this combo and guard breaking system, and again, you're not going to fully understand it unless you use a guide. The other important element of the battle system is the use of magic. If you have a mage in your party, you'll be able to cast from a range of magic spells. These spells are unblockable and can attack all enemies on the screen. However, casting them will add charge time or CT. This charge time, however, can be reduced by smashing magic gems out of enemies through effective comboing. So again, effective combos are crucial. Something that I found the spell system lacking is indicating how much CP is used for each spell. It makes it very difficult to manage your mage's turns without this bit of necessary information. I'm in two minds about this combat system. It does have some great ideas and can be very challenging and is unlike anything I've ever played before, but there are still a few frustrating choices that hold it back. The upgrade mechanics are about the only thing that's easy to get your head around. You can equip your characters with basic weapons, armor, and accessories found in dungeons or purchased through the camp menu. I liked it how there was so much to think about when selecting your weapons. You need to consider attack power, number of attacks, attributes, and even the chance of a weapon breaking in battle. When leveling up, your character will also gain CP to spend on skills. These can be stat increases or skills to help out in battle, such as auto item or counter attack. There will only be a handful of skills available from the start of the game. The rest you'll need to find in dungeons. Optimizing your characters effectively is very important towards the end of the game, especially if you're going for ending A. Some of the late game bosses here can be absolutely brutal.
You have served me well, my Einherjar.
Valkyrie Profile is not your typical JRPG. Even after all of these years, it still presents unique systems and mechanics not seen in other games of the genre. Valkyrie Profile is its own beast, and I loved that. The visual style and soundtrack still holds up today, but it's the unique style of storytelling based on Norse mythology and the gameplay mechanics that make Valkyrie Profile worth experiencing. There are some really great moments here. It's just a shame that next to nothing happens during the first half of the game, and that the majority of the story is locked behind ending A, which is impossible to reach without a guide. Much of the same can be said about the combat. There are some really good ideas and some pretty intense strategic boss battles, but it also came with some annoyances such as the guarding mechanics and the lengthy special attack animations that you can't skip. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth is a cult classic, and it's easy to see why. This game is now available digitally on modern consoles, so if you want to try out something a little bit more unconventional than typical JRPGs, Valkyrie Profile is worth looking into. Just make sure you use a guide. What is your experience with Valkyrie Profile? When did you first play it? Are you a fan of this classic? Let me know in the comments below. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, hit like and sub for more RPG content coming soon. See you next time.